Hi guys, and welcome back to Logic Language Learning. So, this video is carrying on with the idea that soft and hard verbs don't use are as the hard. Okay, I always give the exception of to run, but there is generally an idea in the logic language method which means you keep the letter R in your brain for the future. We won't go into why just yet, but if you want to look ahead and see, then you look up the simple future video, which would explain why the letter R is so important. So, as a rule, most verbs give us most of their information in the infinitive, in the long form. So if you are hearing the letter R in the middle of your long form, this is not what we're going to be using. Okay, so if I had a word like lire, okay, now let's have a little look. Okay, lire is a classic soft hard which requires our exception pattern. So say it for me, lire, which is to read. Okay, lire. Now, traditionally then, travel through, find me the top three soft. So I read, you read, he reads. What's the soft? Travel through the word. Where do we first hit a wall? Je lis, tu lis, il lit. Good. Now, as you're starting to get, I don't need you to remember them or learn them from the reading, but you can write them down by all means. So, je lis, tu lis, il lit. Let's write these down. So, lis, lit, lit. This is how your brain should be thinking of them. You shouldn't be thinking of the ending necessarily. You should be thinking, I'm a single person, I'm a soft person, I don't make much noise. Lis, lis, lit. Okay? So, li, 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 this SST pattern that we're seeing elsewhere. But we use that to write, we don't use that to find, we don't use that to remember the verb. So, li, li, li. Now, strictly speaking, then, what's the long form? What's the infinitive? Lire. Now, do we use an R for our hard sound? No, we don't say liront, lire, do we? Not in this tense. Yeah, not in this tense. So, we're going to swap it, classically, for a single S. Now a single S, how do we pronounce a single S in French? We pronounce it like a Z. Imagine it reverses. So before I trip over, li, 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 what's our hard sound? Z, z, z. Remember, in all of these verbs, one hard sound. Li, 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 lis. What's the new ending? Nous lisons, vous lisez, il lise. Okay? Li, 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 lisons, lisez, lise. You see if you can spell them. Okay? So, nous lise. What's my classic? Oui, on. Vous lisez. Okay? Il lise. E-N-T, the silence. Okay? But as far as you're concerned, I want you to think, I read, je lis, tu lis, il lit, nous lisons. Okay? Past, j'ai lu, L-U, you'll look at another time. So, if I gave you a verb like to write, which is écrire, écrire. Now let's have a look at this. Écrire. So first things first that we're going to notice is that the E has an accent on it. The E has an acute accent. We're not saying écrire, we're saying écrire. Okay? So that's one thing to notice. The next thing to notice is that if we literally stopped at the very first hard letter, ek, we'd be left with e. We'd be left with a single letter, which is ridiculous. So we're obviously got to kind of, move beyond that. So the soft of écrire is écrit. Écrit, écrit, écrit. Okay, now, what's the hard at the end? Écrire. It's an R. Do we use an R for our hard letter? No, we don't. So écrit, écrit, écrit. This time I want you to use a V. Okay, I want you to use a V. I often use V's in my teaching and I end up insulting somebody. So, écrit, écrit, écrit. Now, before we go any further, you should be able to do this. If I give you a hard sound, you should automatically be able to add the nous ending, the vous ending, and the il or elle ending on the end of this. So, écrive, what's my nous ending? En. So, nous écrivons, vous écrivez, ils écrivent. Okay? So anything with write or écrire is going to have a V in it. So for example, décrire, to describe, décrit, 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 nous décrivons, vous décrivez, ils décrivent. But the bottom line is, with all of these verbs, this is the idea I want you to get. The top three will be soft, the bottom three will be hard. The top three will all match and the bottom three will have the same hard letter. Okay? So, little jumble up. No, there's one more we're going to do in this section. And this is very annoying, but it often comes up. So, the verb now, I'm going to rub out écrire so you can see, is dire. Okay? Quite why I'm dotting my R rather than my I, I'm not sure. So dire. So if we look at dire, which is to say, not to speak, which is parler, is to say, dire. So classically, before you know anything else, travel through the word for me, and what's the soft? Dis. I say, je dis. Tu dis, il dit. Also, interestingly, with any of these soft hards which have an E sound to them, this also gives us the past ending. So I have said, j'ai dit. I said, j'ai dit. Okay? Now, traditionally then, if we work like lire, okay, and we said dire, we can't use the R, we'll make it a Z. Nous disons. So that would be right. So give me my softs. D. Give me the spellings that you're getting good at. SST. Nous disons. Good. What automatically is they going to be then? So they, is it single person soft or plural person hard? Hard. So I'm going to need the Z. Okay, so dis. Okay. Irregular for vous is dites. Okay? Dites, vous dites, which is really annoying and just something we need to learn. So come with me. Je dis. Tu dis. Il dit. Nous disons. Vous dites, not disez. Vous dites. Ils disent. Okay, now. Let's now have a jumble then. So what we're looking at is lire to read. The hard sound is Z. Dire to say. The hard sound is Z, with the exception of the T for the vous. And to write, my hard sound is V. So let's see if you can do a mixture. So la lettre, the letter, okay, L-E-T-T-R-E. So let's say we write the letter. Écrire, nous écrivons la lettre. Okay? He says, let's use the word something, which is quelque chose, something. So he says something, the verb is dire. Is he a single person soft or a plural person hard? He's single soft, so il dit quelque chose. Luc says hello. Luc dit bonjour. Luc dit salut, okay? Not the best way of wording a sentence, but it makes sense. So, he reads, the verb is lire. Think literature. Il lit, soft, okay? We read. Nous lisons. Good, it's a Z sound. The verb is dire, which is to say. We say. Nous what's it going to be? Is it disons or disons? Nous disons. Okay, so it's another hard. Another single letter S, another Z. They write. Ils écrivent. Good. They say. Ils disent. Going to the hard straight away now. You, plural, you formal, say. Vous dites. Yeah, the only one we need to remember. You say, vous dites. So these patterns, okay, are pretty standard. You won't see an R, apart from the example, but I don't want you to think about that. You won't see an R as a hard letter very often at all. It's not what you should be thinking. So we'll often swap to a Z, we'll often swap to a V. Okay, tune in next time for what we're going to do with the stem changes in the middle, which is pretty much our final irregularity with the soft and hard. But I'm sure you can agree, instead of memorising IS, IS, IT, ONS, EZ, we are better with our soft, 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 hard, hard, hard method. Okay, well done. Any questions, any more examples you want, the details are below, and click like if you like the video. Okay, take care.